Alright, so today we got some Monster Rehab Peach Tea. That seems to be the random selection of the day. It's got all of the random caffeinated cocktail ingredients that you would expect, I suppose. 170 caffeine, niacin, B6, B12, taurine, guarana, all your favorites. Although I did notice that on the side here it says it has coconut water in it. Coconut water. So I'm not sure what to think about that. I guess we'll see. I think these things are not carbonated. I think that's, if that's right. So we'll see what we make out of that. On your PC now? Nice. Alright, let's open. I'm gonna open a couple things. I forgot to get my blank sheet out. Of course that didn't save correctly. Why would it? Alright, so we're gonna rate this out of 100. 25 for aroma, 25 for palate, 25 for finish, 10 for texture, and 15 for my personal experience. Of course, we'll pour this into our copita. Has some delay. Yeah, there is always some amount of delay when it comes to live broadcasting, I suppose. The delay on Twitch is the best, though. Alright. No carbonated sound, but there is smoke coming out of it. That kind of reminds me of Jolt Cola. So, oh my god, this is like a join the Discord. Nice. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on in there. Woo! All kinds of stuff going on in the Discord. Look at this. Look at the color of this thing. It's like a tea color. Really, I guess that would make sense. It's peach tea. It's a bit too on the beige end for it to be like a whiskey. Of course it's not carbonated, but there is some amount of loose particles, kind of like you would experience with an iced tea. Looks like apple juice, like apple cider, yeah. Like unfiltered apple cider. You're not wrong. And of course, it smells resoundingly like peach. Is there sugar in this? A little bit. It's not sugar-free. There's a little bit of sugar in it. Not a lot, but a little bit. And yeah, like a peach aroma. Not a whole lot of the like tea portion though, like the black tea or like that slight bitterness or tannic quality. Oh, there's Crassus. I wonder where he was going to be. Of course, there's no carbonation, so it's not like it's super sparkly, but is this family friendly? So long as they're okay with talking about alcohol, then yes, it's family friendly in that regard. I don't do anything vulgar, I suppose, or outrageous, but I do, in sophisticated manner, talk about whiskey, rum, and other fine spirits, cognac, gin. In the same method that we are addressing this monster rehab, I would address a whiskey. a scotch or bourbon. Costco had the monster cases. Yeah, they have ultra cases usually. I don't know about other ones. Okay, well, you probably shouldn't be watching alcohol related content at 11, I would think. So we're not gonna, again, as far as I'm concerned, your age of majority in whatever jurisdiction you're in. Sunset Moonshine from St. Vincent. No, I've never had Sunset Moonshine. I'm not a moonshine consumer typically, though. I'm more fond of aged spirits, but there are some unaged rums that are pretty interesting. Green or mixed ultra, yeah, that's usually what you get at Costco, in my experience. I've seen worse. Wow. Okay, a little bit of that, like, slightly tannic, bitter tea notes coming in. Ray and Nephew from Jamaica. I haven't had Ray and Nephew specifically, but I have had some Jamaican rums, yeah. Alright. So, Monster Rehab Peach Tea on the palate. Cheers. Kind of hits like exactly, I suppose, like you might expect. It is peachy and tea. Obviously no carbonation. And as a result, it kind of feels like it lacks a little bit in mouthfeel, because there's no carbonated factor. But somewhat that's because we're just used to all these things being carbonated. So it's kind of interesting if this can really make up for it without such carbonation. I'm trying to pay attention to the texture. It does feel fairly simplistic in a way. Garbage, yeah. No, it's not that bad. Now, there is one that I reviewed so far that was garbage, and that is Celsius Sparkling Orange. That's not, that shit is trash. This one's not that bad, but it's not very exciting. You know? Fairly basic in a way. Kind of just like peach and slightly tannic tea note. Now, it's doing a reasonably good job of covering up any kind of like artificial sweetener taste. Like, there's no kind of weird chemically artificial sweetener taste you get sometimes with these. And also no mention of like the bitterness associated with caffeine and stuff like that. All right, have a good day there, purple guy. But that aside, again, it's mostly fairly simple on the palate, fairly simple on the finish, fairly simple on the aroma. So there's not a whole lot for us to deliberate here, to be honest. I'm trying to give it some time to perhaps have a development. But kind of seems mostly samey. Baffled summary. Guy got fucking baffled. Well, bang. Yep. Give it one more taste here, then we'll talk about some numbers. You cannot breathe this. If you attempt to breathe it, it won't work out well. It is smooth. It is smooth, however. Yeah, so at 25, we got in the aroma. Again, mostly just that kind of slightly artificial peach note. Maybe gets into a little bit of orange. And undercurrent of slightly tannic tea character. Actually, something hitting right now that's like kind of like a bubble gum. Yeah, like a stick of tropical gum before it gets in your mouth, like almost like a juicy fruit or something like that. Yeah, like a juicy fruit, bubble gum. When it's all like covered in like the slight fine powdered sugar before you actually put it in your mouth, that kind of scent. It's a good note. Again, reasonable, not super intense, not super interesting. 15. All right, on the palate, 25. Again, mostly that kind of peach orange aspect, slight tea component. Actually get some of that juicy fruit bubblegum on the back palate. Near the finish. Again, kind of similar, reasonable. Not too many notes. For a palate, though, it's pretty reasonable. It means we'll give it 17 for a palate. Now finish, again, there's no harsh, random, challenging chemical notes on this. Kind of finishes, again, with that, like, slightly juicy fruit component. I'm gonna say, I guess that's the word I found for this particular flavor. And mostly on that kind of like slightly tea characteristic. Some peach and orange in there. Finishes on juicy fruit. For a finish, this is pretty good. Frankly. 18. Bump. Alright, out of 10 on the texture. This is, again, not carbonated. So we won't really rate it too much on its carbonation, but the actual texture of the liquid doesn't leave much to write home about. Not particularly sticky in any way, so that's good. Fairly refreshing, I suppose. Nothing like thick or anything, though. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. It feels like it's missing something. So out of 15, my personal experience with this one Monster Rehab Peach Tea energy beverage. Actually not bad, to be honest. At first it kind of came across pretty simplistic, and it is. Again, it's mostly that kind of tea or not tea, peach or citrus kind of note. Again, with a little bit slight tannic tea character. But it does kind of weirdly blend into some kind of strange juicy fruit component. Kind of in every place. And that gives it a little bit of interest. You know, makes it a little bit more interesting. And I get the feeling that's actually some part of that is that artificial sweetener kind of chemical taste blending with the actual flavoring components to make something kind of new and slightly interesting rather than having like a wonky aftertaste. And I think that's like maybe the best thing you can do with these unsweetened beverages is that obviously if you're using artificial sweeteners, they do have a certain like weird chemical taste. But if you can like use flavors to kind of morph that into some other flavor that is usually kind of like a little odd. Like when that sunset vibe, it kind of tasted like spent orange popsicle stick or like sand. And on this one, it kind of tastes like juicy fruit, which is kind of interesting. It's a weird flavor to get, and it's because it's like a weird way to mask, I think, this artificial sweetener taste. But we're here for it. This is the kind of thing that you want to be able to do, I think, if you're using an artificial sweetener. You don't want to be able to detect that yucky, kind of like fake sugar chemical note. So turning it into juicy fruit, I guess, is your best possible option, and maybe in this case. That being said, this does taste quite good, all things considered. I could see myself buying something like this again. The problem is it's not carbonated, and I feel like it's just missing something. There's a certain experience, as an experience-driven individual like myself, there's a certain experience I kind of expect from, a $3 or $4 can of caffeinated beverage, and this is like missing the mark just a little bit, and it kind of goes down like really easy too, almost kind of like a peace tea or like an Arizona, which maybe is a good thing. Again, you get that those caffeinated particles really smooth, like is smooth drinking, easy to what's the word we say, crushable. Yeah, it's crushable. And I find a lot of energy drinks actually quite heavy and not that crushable. This one is quite easy drinking. So I guess there is that going for it. It has some good merits there. Not doing anything wild and interesting and standing out in that way, but pretty reasonable things going on. We'll give it an 8 out of 15. A reasonably good experience. And like that, let's tally up her score. 15 and 17 and 18. And I don't know how to use a calculator. 18, 4, and 8 is 62. 62 out of 100. This is pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's good. Good stuff. Not bad, actually.